On the latest surrounding the conflict, we're talking with Maurice Hirsch of the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with this. Just earlier, we've heard Netanyahu saying killing Iran's supreme leader would, quote, end the conflict. It was reported earlier that Trump rejected such a plan. Do you think Israel would listen to the U.S. on this?
I think it's important to understand the roles of all of the leaders that have been eliminated by Israel during the operations that we've carried out. I think that the supreme leader of Iran is a particularly destabilizing figure. He is the one driving this fundamentalist ideology, and he is the one who, as Prime Minister Netanyahu said, who his elimination could bring about a fundamental change. And that's what Israel is trying to do, bring about a fundamental change in the policy of Iran to try and persuade Iran, the Iranian leadership, to really give up on its idea of destroying Israel. Israel has no argument with the Iranian people, just with the Iranian leadership. And so the Iranian leadership must pay the price for what it's been provoking for all these years.
Do you not think that assassinating Ali Khamenei wouldn't be the reddest of lines for many in Iran?
Well, I think that there's a difficulty in drawing red lines for a fundamentalist regime that do not need any provocation, really, in order to attack Israel. Everything that they're saying now is just an excuse. It'll be the elimination of Ali Khamenei as an excuse to do what? To send hundreds of ballistic missiles targeting Israel's civilian population? Well, they've already done that on 3 different occasions. So it's difficult to talk in the terms of red lines. What we need to discuss is what would be the exact moves that would be needed in order to bring about the speediest resolution to this conflict. And really the defeat of the Iranian leadership, and again, not the Iranian people, not Iran, but a defeat of the Iranian leadership.
You've spoke on the ballistic missile attacks by Iran on Israel, but ahead of today's Israeli strikes on the Iranian capital, Israeli Defense Minister Katz said Tehran's residents will pay the price following the Iranian strikes on Tel Aviv, effectively threatening civilians. He later walked that back, but he did say it. What would you say anyone looking from outside in might think of that statement and that defense chief?
Well, I have to say that it was very positive that Defense Minister Katz rolled back that statement. It shouldn't have been written in the first place, and he was correct to make that clarification that we are not, as everyone has seen, as a result of the Iranian attacks on Israel, there have been 24 civilians murdered, 0 military personnel. On the other side, most of those killed have been Iranian senior military personnel, and the targets that have been attacked, not residential buildings that have been attacked with no military presence, as have been the source of the attacks in Israel by the Iranians. On the other hand, Israel has very strictly applied the rule of targeting military targets that have substantial value. And so I think it was good that, again, that Minister Katz rolled back that statement. And I would say again to the people of Tehran, if you do not live within the proximity to weapons producing factories where Israel warned them to stay clear, and you do not live in proximity to leaders of the Iranian regime, you have nothing to fear. We will not be targeting you.
But we've seen footage of residential buildings in Tehran burning. How would I know if my first neighbor is an IRGC commander or not? And to the point, you've mentioned 24 casualties in Israel, civilians. Iran says there are 224 casualties in Iran. But back to the matter at hand, Tehran has reportedly reached out for talks to end the hostilities and resume nuclear negotiations, which was then confirmed by Trump at the G7 in Canada. Now, with Natanz and Fordo being hit, top military brass, nuclear scientists killed, Israel declaring air superiority over Tehran. What else is left? Do you think Israel is prepared to cease the attacks?
I think what we need to do is not play again into the Iranian ploy. As has been said, the Iranians have never won a war, but they've never lost the negotiations. The quick call for a ceasefire now is just another one of those ploys. They are almost on their knees, and the job needs to be finished. Not negotiations in order to somehow save their nuclear capabilities and nuclear centers, but rather total destruction of those centers. They've had many, many years to hold those negotiations. As President Trump said, he gave them another 60 days, and all they did was waste time in the thought that there would never be any consequences.
Yes,
There have
but
now been
Israel
consequences.
does not have ordnance to hit the deep underground facilities. Does that mean Israel wants U.S. militarily involved to finish the objective?
I think there was a lot of discussion about what capabilities Israel had and didn't have prior to launching their preemptive strike. I think the preemptive strike and very much everything that we've seen since then has proved that Israel has capabilities sometimes beyond people's imagination. The fact that we had teams on the ground operating UAVs to neutralize ballistic missile launchers is something which I don't think the world would have expected, similar to the Beeper operation in Lebanon. I think there are many, many more surprises coming up for the Iranian regime, and they would do well to surrender as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you, Maurice, for joining us and sharing with us your insights.
Thank you very much, Fabio.